Good morning, guys. Hey guys, can you, I was having a little bit of technical difficulty earlier. Can you guys hear me? Please shout out, yes, we can hear you, or something to me. For whatever reason, I'm having some issues with my phone this morning, so I'll make sure that you guys can hear me. If I need to shut back down or whatever, but if you can, somebody please just shout out that you can. Hey Mateo, can you hear me? Good morning, guys. Okay, good deal. I was just making sure, like I said, I was having some speaker issues with my phone this morning, and I was wanting to make sure that it wasn't carrying over into the microphone. I got on TikTok and it played about 2 seconds of each video, and then it would go, the speaker, it would stop playing, and I thought, oh man. So, good. I'm glad you can hear me. Wall to wall, right on. Well, good deal. Well, we're going to see if we can't make something today. I worked yesterday on that piece of Buffalo River, and I kind of got it to a spot to do some more work on, but I've got it in another place right now. It's in next to my chair, so I'm going to try. Good morning, Mad Dog. How you doing today? Guys, welcome in. If you've not been here before, this is Coffee with a Caveman, and we're going to do some flint napping and primitive skills discussions, whatever, along that avenue. So, yeah, it's raining here. Well, it was earlier. We got some freezing rain, Mad Dog. I've got ice in the trees out here this morning. It kind of looks like a little winter wonderland up in the trees, but the roads stayed clear because it's been so warm here prior, to this. So I'm thankful for that we don't have the icy roads and stuff. But it moved through here pretty quick. Well, it sprinkled and misted all night last night, but it wasn't. We were right at the edge of it. We didn't get near as much as some other folks are going to get. So. I haven't even warmed up this morning. I usually will come out here and peck around on the rock a little bit. So, hey, Springfield Chuck, how you doing this morning? I've got a really neat piece of rock to work today. I think I might, going through all my stuff, and I came across some rainy buttes. It's a petrified wood, or comes from like North Dakota, I think. But I found a couple of really nice pieces of it, and I haven't worked it in a long time. That, and I might work, I've got a little preform of some of that Horse Creek that I got from Terry. If Terry shows up in here in a little bit, I may work some of that. It's a little tougher. There we go. All right, we've got a few people starting to show up this morning. I hope everybody is safe and warm. Depending on what part of the country you live in, there's all kinds of stuff going on. So, this is just a little piece of heat-treated Buffalo River. Just trying to get some of this outside edge cortex off of it. Hey, good morning, Susie. How you doing today? Yes, Chuck, you guys, you're above the line where you guys are going to be a little bit colder than we were here. We got, like I said, I think we got lucky. It stayed above freezing for the better part of the evening, and then it kind of dipped right before morning, and that's when I think we got a lot of our ice on the trees, but I don't think it's, well, the wife made it to work, so there was no ice on bridges and that kind of stuff, or at least no issues that she came across, so. Just me and the old dog here. We're not getting any snow here either. I think we're on the line where we're supposed to get mainly like the mixed stuff. I don't think we're going to get as much snow, Chuck, for us. Now you're a little bit farther, about 2 hours north of me, and more into the snow band of what they're predicting. So. Like I said, I just hope everybody's prepared and safe if they don't, I don't know, if this area, we just don't get enough snow. It's like, well, there was a seam in that just came apart. But we don't get enough of the winter weather, and people just drive like idiots. They think four-wheel drive is, automatically gives them the ability to drive however they want to drive in the inclement weather, and I just don't go a little more flake towards the center line. Not sure what you mean there, Zach. Just warming up on a little piece of Buffalo River. You thought you were going to have to go to Joplin this morning? Yeah, Joplin's about an hour from me. I'm kind of in. Yeah. Oh, Zach, I know how to get longer flakes. I appreciate it, but yeah, it's kind of what I've told a lot of folks. People try to get the big removal flakes before they start getting the contours. The contours of this rock are not set up to try to take long flakes. If you want to take a consensus in here, I know how to get longer flakes. But what happens is people try to take too big a flake too early before they set up the contours, and then you end up with really wonky, like you want a particular, like the lines of the point. If you try to take too big a flake, like here's a good removal spot. There's still enough weight down here. I'm trying to thin the base and the tip. You can see where that last seam came out right there. This is a piece of Buffalo River, but the contour on this, I can come in here and take some of this mass off here. Hopefully that seam doesn't go all the way through the rock. Let's see. That spread all the way up into here. Trying to get where that seam came out of there a while ago. This Buffalo River is notorious. Yeah, that's why you don't want to, that's why a lot of people, like I said, they try to go too quick to try to get that big flake removal, and you take the convexity out of the piece and make it either flat, or like you said, you start getting a concave valley in it, and your flakes will not travel through it. What I try to do is when I start off, I'm adjusting the edges. So you can see there's a valley right in the center of this piece on that side, and a pretty deep spot on it right there. If I try to run flakes through that, it's just gonna, mess up. This side is a little bit, it's got some contours that need fixing too. But whenever you've got these lumps and bumps and stuff like that, if you try to run big flakes through that, you end up making problems that you're gonna have to work out later. So I'm just, see, like flake like that. I'm not trying to take a big flake. I'm just trying to build convexity. And how that tapered off right into this flat valley area. It just took that square edge, or that area of mass, and then there's another one right next to it. Same type of flake. Just rolling that over the top of that. Now this one I'm going to hold at an angle and try to taper the end a little bit. Like that. See, that flake went, because the contour was right for it to travel. Let's see, that's the end of it there. That went across the whole back side of that piece. Thank you. Yeah, I wasn't trying to be rude or anything a while ago. I've been doing this a long time. The fundamentals, you know, once you learn those, that part of it doesn't change. You know, it's just the material or you know, seams, cracks, stuff like that you're going to have to work through the piece. But the fundamentals of how to get the flakes never change. That's what I try to tell everybody on these lives is once you learn how to read that cone and how that cone comes off, it's almost, I don't want to say boring, but it's the same thing over and over, just trying to get that flake to ride those contours. Kind of like a individual puzzle, you know, each piece of rock is. I was just trying to warm up on this piece. It wasn't a really nice piece, and it had that seam in it. Looks like it's not going to go any farther into the rock, which is good. But we've got like a steep, kind of jagged, chunky edge where that. When I originally got the rock, this was gifted to me by a friend of mine that went over on the Buffalo River and collected it. So, you learn filing. You mean the grinding on the edge? Is that what you're meaning by filing? Yes, Buffalo River, Tennessee, Brandon. In fact, I've got some other material over here. If Terry shows up, that I can. It's some really pretty Horse Creek from Tennessee. And I may work on some of that here in a little bit. See, like right here, we're in the piece, you can see this little valley that I was talking about earlier. It's where a flake, when it was picked up, or a chunk was taken out when it was tumbling down the creek. So instead of, that's the other side of that seam, so this may actually come apart, but we've got enough material on this side here to. Justin, I don't think that it heat, and good morning, by the way, but I don't think that the Horse Creek benefits from the heat treating. Now, I'm not certain of that, but I'm pretty sure that it does not. So, see, we just rolled that flake, and it went right to the back side of that. Let's see if I can get it up here where you can see. It just took out that back side of that ridge. Doesn't look like that seam goes through all the way there, so we may just have this little piece here to mess with. Yeah, I saw some of your Horse Creek, Justin, that you were soaking in the creek there. That's awesome. Looks like some pretty decent material. Yeah, it's pretty stuff. You know, like I said, I've kind of, after Terry had sent me some, I'm kind of hooked on it. I'm wanting to get some more of it. Especially some of the good stuff that he's getting. I mean, it's really, it doesn't have all the different, like that yellow and green and black and all that together. It's mostly reds and oranges, but man, I really like working that material. It's super clean. But it does dry out. You can feel it dry out as you're working it. That's why, you know, once I start feeling it getting crusty like that, that's when I start looking for another piece of rock and get ready to put that right back in the water. All right, let's see if we can work this. We've got this little area of cortex here. And then we'll see what we can do with this little. No, typically, Zach, if I can't get the flake to release within 2 or 3 hits, and I know that the platform, or that I'm striking it cleanly, then that tells you there's something wrong with your platform. And grinding it actually makes it harder for the crack to initiate. So grinding it more will actually make it harder for that flake to detach. What I do, if I have a, you know, where I can't get the flake to release when I feel like it should, sometimes if you just switch percussors and switch to a heavier or a harder percussor and change your angle just a little bit on it, that you can get it to release. If it still won't after, you know, giving it if you feel like you've hit it well, then I will stop and pressure flake and adjust the platform and then try it again. But yeah, if just grinding it more doesn't necessarily make the flake release better, or what it may do in some situations, you can see when I'm grinding that edge, you see that white on the line, that's that rock dust that's coming from the sandstone in this. And what that does, it kind of gives it a grit, almost like chalk in a pool cue. And it gives it a little bit more purchase on the edge. There's some more of that kind of lipped a little bit. All right. Take off some of this, more of this cortex. So you can see how thick that is around along the edge. So I'm trying to get, GT, I do. If you'll check out my profile, go right up to the top here, right here, and click on that, on my name, and then you'll see like there's links on my description that'll take you those places. See, now that cortex, it's softer than the parent rock, and a lot of times it'll crumble like that. That's why I don't like to hit on the cortex. That'll take care of some of it there. Just took that down the top of that ridge next to it. And there's another one here. Since we're early enough in the piece, I don't typically like hitting off the ends, especially with antler. Hammerstone is, let me take a hammerstone. Hammerstone doesn't shock the rock as much as the antler, and the reason is because the antler is softer and it stays in contact with the piece longer, and it puts more energy and more shock into it. Whereas the hammerstone delivers the energy in a different way. where this rock doesn't rebound or recoil from it as quickly, and you get a lot crisper type flake come off of it. Oh yeah, we were working some obsidian here. We were a couple weeks ago before I was sick for about a week and a half. This is a TV glass. We were doing what I call, I don't use any copper tools, Zach. Everything I use is antler, stone, wood, that kind of stuff. But we were working some alternate materials. Brizzo, good morning. This is a TV glass Clovis that I did live. And this is the bottom of a 40-ounce beer bottle bottom. I jokingly call this stuff Ozark Creek obsidian. And then this drill, it's got my ashes from my incense on there. This is a toilet porcelain. This is a toilet tank piece that I made into a Dalton drill. You can see it's. Thank you, Zach. I appreciate it. Yeah, we had a week and a half there where we were working some alternate materials. I'm fortunate that I live in an area where I have a lot of natural resources. I mean, I can be from a half an hour from my house, I can be picking up rock in any direction that I go. And some people they don't have that opportunity. So we were working some materials that you would typically have access to. It's just trash, you know. Yeah, I've got a couple of friends that are from Louisiana. There's not a lot of rock down there to work. Yeah, hotel ashtrays are good thick. They'll work too. Any thick piece of glass will work. But yeah, down in Louisiana, you got a lot of gravels, and that's about it, or you're buying rock. Yep, that's what I'm saying though, Zach. If you practice on that kind of stuff, see, that's what I try to, I discourage people who are, trying to get into this. I don't want to say I discourage them, but I try to, don't start off spending a lot of money on rock when you're first trying to figure out what's going on. You're going to get frustrated, unless you've just got unlimited resources. If you've got all kinds of money. Hey, good morning from rainy Kentucky. Well, good morning from was rainy earlier with some freezing Arkansas there, Andy. We've got, looked like a winter wonderland out there in the trees this morning, but the ground is just wet. But it's supposed to melt off before it's going to be like low to mid 30s, so just above freezing here today. But no, I would encourage you, if you're starting off, to work as much, quote unquote trash, because it's free and you can learn on it. Well, there's another seam right there where see how that kind of popped out weird right there. Yep, some is dull and dry. Yeah, there's some good stuff in Missouri, Zach. Mad Dog, right on, man. Oh, you remember this one? This is that toilet tank. It's got incense ash all over it right now, but it's a little more off-white than it was. You can see just a little bit of the glazing that was left underneath one of those flakes right there. But yeah, Zach, I'm about, probably 10 minutes from the Missouri line, southwest Missouri. And I've got quite a few places up in Missouri that I go for material. I really like working a lot of the local stuff. It's actually what I work the most of. A lot of this other stuff is, you know, if it's gifted to me or something like that, I get at gatherings and nap-ins, I have, you know, people that offer me material and stuff. So I don't get to work a lot of stuff other than my local stuff. So every once in a while, when I get a chance to, it's kind of fun for me. See, the only area that we've still got an issue with is where that seam is in this rock. But it looks like that's what that is because that seam goes all the way around there. This rock is going to break at that seam right there. That's where it goes into this same spot. So I don't want to try to work around that for you guys. It's be boring and slow. Let's find a piece of rock here that we can work. Tell you what, while my hands are feeling good this morning, let's do some pressure flaking on that Horse Creek. Dry this off. Hey John, thank you. How you doing this morning? Blue and White Warrior, thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. But this is just a gorgeous piece of Horse Creek. Sooty, thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. I'm doing good this morning, John. I'm feeling pretty decent. My hands are, that's what I was saying. I might do some pressure flaking while my hands are feeling good here. I'm thinking I might want to thinking about trying to make a fulsome out of some of this. And I don't know how you know, historically correct it is. I just want to make one out of it. And it's raw material, so I mean, it's within the realm of possibilities, but just a little bit out of what the Folsom Cultures range would have been. I don't know. We'll see once we get into it. I may make a awesome. Yeah, that'd be cool, Mad Dog. I appreciate it. Brizzo, I'm hoping to, but I'm not certain if I'll be able to. A lot of it depends. Like I said, I know it sounds crazy, but I've got an elderly pit bull that she gets almost sick to herself when I'm not around. And depending on how she's doing at that time, that will determine a lot of that for me. So now see, this piece right here, guys, is kind of, it's almost if you look at it as a spall, it's like a big spall instead of a biface, and you start looking at all of the contours of this thing, and this is it's almost, yeah, Aurora, that's Southwest Missouri, Zach. That's probably, Aurora, Missouri is about an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes. Oh yeah, I make atlatl dart points, atlatl darts, bows, arrows, the whole deal, Zach. In fact, I have been working on a set of atlatl dart points, trying to make a match set of like a cache set. This is a piece of black butter obsidian, or what they call some people call it dacite, but it's an obsidian. And then these are some of my local material. But I do Daltons. If you want to check out some of my finished work, Zach, go check out right up here. I got a lot of my work pinned, and you'll see the stuff that I do. I post all of it up there. So but no, this is the same thing as like when you're trying to flake. You don't want to try to take too big a notch or too big of flakes until your contours are right for those. And if you see, there's a whole bunch of little zigzags and dips and stuff on these edges that if I just went in and tried to start taking big long flakes out of there, then I'm gonna end up with a bunch of problems and troubles. So what we'll do is just start gradually building convexity. What part of me wants to try to take that right now with the indirect? I think it'll work. If it doesn't, we've got enough width to fix it. Now, I do this sometimes, guys, and you know, if I kind of get a feeling that I can take a problem off of there, well, I don't know, this is going to be yeah, it went. I was just trying to shoot under. You can see this little stacky area right here. And took that to just past center on that. And it really, really thinned out the base. So we're probably gonna make a Dalton out of this. This will make a nice Dalton. And I like the look of it on this stuff. Plus it's not, this is not the glossy type that's gonna allow me to run flakes quite as well as the slicker stuff. When you're wanting to, that's why the Folsom cultures and the Clovis also, and a lot of the other cultures that were doing the big flutes like that. Yep, that's what you do. That's exactly what you do, is push in and then down. But no, when the material's not as slick, the flakes, you know, don't want to travel as far in it. It makes it a lot more difficult to flute a piece from base to tip on something like a Folsom or a Cumberland, stuff like that, where you're looking for a full length. Maybe your screen, I think your screen has a hair on it. Maybe there's Evian. I don't see, nope, no hair in the coffee. It'll put hair on your chest, but there's no hair in it. But yeah, this is just like when you're trying to start off with a piece. If you're trying to take too big of flakes too soon before you set up your convexity, you're fighting yourself. You know, you're making more issues that you're going to have to fix later on in the piece. Now, I don't see a hair, guys. There may be maybe something over something or something else, but I've checked. Not seeing it. I Like I said, it'll put the hair on your chest, but I don't see. I got something on my screen or something somewhere. I don't see anything. Oh well. Just trying to get those to meet up with where I took that removal a while ago and start thinning that base out. I'm going to take one, kind of angle it back into this area here. Like that. Now that lines up this ridge, and we can take one right here. That went out just past the center line. We're going to try to get this one to meet up with this, where this one ended over here. Just like that. Went right to the edge of where that one was. I think that's what it is, Brizzo. Something like that. Yeah, because it's not, there's no hair there, I promise. That coffee's like a mirror for sure. See, in just a few strikes, you can see how flat, you know, I took a lot of that there out of it, but I've still got some convexity from edge to edge and from base to tip. So now just, you got to go back in, reset, clean up. I've got a little step right here, and then there's a little kind of a chunky area right there that needs to be dealt with, but they're both within, you know, where I'm going to be bringing that in at. So instead of trying to take too big of flakes, you just reset your convexity and isolate platforms. It's the same thing, like I said, guys, over and over again. It's just a system, you know. Yeah, that's the real question. That's the one I get asked a lot, Brizzo, and I don't get them in there. I don't know how it doesn't happen, but I usually check on the surface to make sure there's nothing floating, you know, and then because these little flakes, the surface tension, you know, will sit there. But like I said, at the end of the day, I'm drinking the last sip out of there, and there's no sediment in the bottom. So I imagine I've probably got enough rock in me, in my system. It really wouldn't matter if I drank it, as long as it didn't get hung in my throat. Let's see, I'm just going back in and resetting this angle. Keisha, thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. And thank you for sharing the live. All right. See, a lot of people, when they start to do this part of the reduction on the edges, I'm kind of grinding on there, but I'm not grinding like this. I'm strengthening the edge, but I'm keeping it. I'm able to set like a really nice angle by brushing these flakes off. You can't really see them coming off, but I'm actually flaking the edge. I'm not grinding it. And what it does, I mean, Marty Ruder kind of call it, it's like edge battering. You're adjusting the edges, but at the same time setting an angle that's going to be good for flake removals, and you're adjusting the contours. And you can see how that edge that I just brushed down, how it's now angled towards this side. So then I'll go back in just like a steeper angle and push off a few of those flakes, then go back this way so that any of the loose flakes that will come off easily, I can take those off. The reason you do that is side or the other. My biggest problem is when I get my shape and good centerline notching. The back, I go too deep on one. Yeah, notching is I don't have the piece near me, but I've got a video up on my YouTube where I talk about notching, and one thing that you mean trying to even them out. What I try to do when I'm notching is I actually will take a flake from each notch and alternate them. And the reason I do that is because exactly like what you're saying. Sometimes you'll get in there and a notch will stall out, like your first notch will go just, like gangbusters. You'll put in a beautiful notch, and then you go to replicate that on the other side and the notch stalls out on you. Whereas if you take a flake from each one and you work them both at the same time, when one of them stalls out, or once you get to where you want to stop it at, they're both at that spot. So it's a lot easier to keep your notches even that way. Because like I said, you go in there and you start off, and everything's going well, and that first notch, goes in there, oh, it's beautiful, it's a great notch, and then you try to replicate that, and the other one stops on you, and now you've got, like you said, you've got that one notch is deeper than the other. So notch them together, just work both notches at the same time. All right, let's get a little bit on something I've got a little bit more leverage with. It'll work for you that way. Like I said, then once you finish it, just because the notches aren't quite as deep as what you may want, at least they match. See it, I'm working up this edge that I just, did that battering on and turned. And you can see how I'm working along this and then trying to isolate that mass in the middle. Hey, Bubba, good morning. Good morning. How you doing today? You getting rained on? Yeah, it's coming. We got some of the freezing stuff a little bit last night or early this morning, but it should be going here in a little while. I think it's going to melt away pretty quick because it's supposed to be in the mid-30s here. All right, now I've got this little area right here that's kind of isolated. You can see the base and the tip are both thinner. I don't want to run a big flake in there because I'm just trying to round out this area, and there's a little bit of a step right here. That's the side we're going to give some material there. I'm going to make a Dalton out of this, so we've got quite a bit of material to give. I just don't want us to introduce more problems into it. I'm trying to get a nice lenticular, flat cross section, because that's to do the Dalton flaking. That's the optimum profile for it. Yeah, see, that one kind of stopped short. I don't like that. I got most of it. Well, that's a stout platform right there. It kind of hurt my shoulder when I pushed in on it. So we're gonna relieve that just a little bit on the back side of that platform to give it a little bit easier time falling away like that. Paul, how you doing? Working a piece of Horse Creek. Trying to come up with some colored material that you guys can actually see what I'm doing. Been spalling this morning, huh? Where were you spalling at? You got some big Buffalo River stuff, or? IL Magar, thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. Oh, right on, Paul. Yeah, some of that big Buffalo River, man. There's some huge pieces of that. I was watching some stuff from the Tennessee Classic where there were some guys that were working some looked like freaking boulders of that stuff. I don't even know what it's like to get a hold of material that big. We don't have stuff like that here. Not unless you're digging it. And most of my stuff is, I pick it up out of washes and, where it's washed out of the formation. I don't typically dig it out. So, yeah, James Parker. I'm looking for the opportunity one of these days to be able to nap with those guys. I've got a few of them on my bucket list that I'd like to sit with. All right. See, when I pick that up to look, I'm trying to see where that next little ridge or channel is going to take the next flake. On this one, I'm not really trying to drive flakes in there. I'm just turning it so I can start building the convexity that I'm looking for the type of flaking that I'm going to do. See, I went too deep with that one. That's okay though. Zach, thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. Now see, whenever I do that and I brush that back, you can see there's a couple of areas like this right here above my finger. Yeah, Dennis is a good dude. I watch him every once in a while. I get a chance to see him. I haven't actually met him. And hey, George, thank you for the follow. But anytime I grind that down and I see that there's an area that's still a little lower, then you go back in and reline that. A little bit sharper tip. There it went. Yeah, Dennis is in here every once in a while. He's probably working this morning, but he comes in and joins the party every once in a while. All right, so I just worked this edge back the same way, that I did the previous one. I'm just walking it back and forth, but as I do this, I'm building convexity in that piece. I'm making it. You can see this was the last series of flakes here, and you can see how that curve, how I've built that convexity into it. That's how you get flakes to travel. If you try to do that too soon and you try to force those flakes off there, you're going to end up with a bunch of step fractures, and you won't end up with a clean flaking pattern on them. And on certain point styles, if you're trying to reproduce those, then that's one of the first things that you'll notice is the flaking pattern on the originals. And there's a system to it, and when you follow the system, if you try to do it out of order, it just doesn't look right. And I don't know how else to put it. They're just not right. So, get my hands to loosen up here. Light another incense. up on the coffee. A little bit sharper. Yeah, that'll work. I try to Monday through Friday, Zach, is when and then I'm gonna do Wednesday night this evening, this week, 8 to 10 also. But yeah, I go live from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Central, Monday through Friday. All right, now here's an opportunity to adjust the man, that's a steep platform. All right, I kind of isolated this little area right here. All right, right on, Zach. You have a good day. Signing Wolves, thank you for the follow. But I'm isolating that little platform. There it is. And I'm going to use that ridge right here. See if I can highlight it with a little rock dust so you can see it better. See that ridge right here. And there's the little lowered platform that I'm going to remove that material with. Just like that. And that was a good contouring flake for that area of the point. And then you just go right back into building the convexity. See, and the contours are not set up for long flakes on this pass. All I'm doing is just building that convexity. So the next series of flakes that I try to take down through here will go longer. There are, on a Dalton point, there are numerous flaking. It can, depending on Justin, depending on where, you know, I've seen some pieces. Now I haven't seen them as consistently red as that. I've seen spots in the rock that could be close to that red, but for the most part, it's usually more of a pink, kind of mottled. I don't see a lot of Burlington that heat treats solid red like that. I'm not saying that it's not out there. I mean, because I'm not a Burlington expert. Fine artifacts. Well, there could be, you know, there could be a sort. Now I find a lot of this is, if you can get a really good look, this is almost a brick red orange color. But now this area, most of the stuff that I've seen has more of a pink, and it's. Yeah, I'd love to bring some of those with you Monday when you come up, because I'd like to see that. That's one of the things that I'll tell you guys, if you're a flint knapper and you live in an area and you hunt arrowheads, if you're an artifact hunter, when the material that you see the majority of the points made out of, that's the closest material to you that you're going to find. So if you're trying to find material to nap, look at what the artifacts are made out of, and somewhere near you, or that's going to be your nearest source of rock. Now keep in mind, the way it looks in the wild is not necessarily the same as it's going to look when it's heat treated. Some of the material, well, these right here, Justin, this material is just super, super slick, raw. But if I heat treated this, it'll turn like a strawberry milk color, pink. Both of these. But working this style of material, or this style of point, they didn't heat treat, so these were just raw rock. But this two varieties, or this variety of the what they call the high boon around here, will heat treat to a pink, or in some places like a magenta color almost, but not solid. So I'd love to see those artifacts, because with you living a little farther south than me, I'm sure that there's a source somewhere down there that's right on, Justin. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. We're gonna have some fun. Anybody that might not know, Justin's gonna come up next Monday and sit in during the live, and then we're gonna nap and talk shop for a while. So looking forward to that. I'm trying to figure out how to get set up here where he's got a comfortable spot to nap at, where we can talk and we're not feeling all cramped up in my cavio. Thank you, Paul, for the kind words. I appreciate it. Well, I look at it too, though, Paul. Anybody I sit with, I'm gonna see something that that I do differently, that I'm gonna try. The way that I nap is basically it's a conglomeration of everybody that I've napped with, and then just made it work for me. There's a guy, I bet, in fact, I know Brizzo. Yeah, Paul, I'm telling you, he's coming along. I'm a little jealous. Like I said, I was 2 or 3 years into it before I was making stuff like that, so he's got the fever for it. So, but no, Brizzo probably knows Bud Cagle from down around Mena. Bud goes to a lot of the nap-ins and the gatherings down there. The way that he does his percussion work, he keeps everything tight to his body, and this is the only movement right here, because your accuracy doesn't come from this. Yeah, you know him, Paul. Bud's a great guy, and like I said, he's a napper, been napping for a while. I saw him at a nap-in 4, 5, 6 years ago, something like that. And I was always, I would swing. Well, it made sense to me. It's kind of like they talk about with a golf swing. The fewer moving parts you have, the less likely you are to get out of time, So when you have this, it's almost like a hammer mill, like a blacksmith's hammer mill. It's going the same spot every time, and this is how you adjust your work. This is where your accuracy comes from. It's the left hand and not this. I'm not hitting for a spot. I'm hitting and then adjusting this part of it as I hit. So it takes a lot of the accuracy out of having to do it. It's just simplifying the swing as much as possible. But Bud is where I picked that up from. I'd watched other guys nap, and it made sense to me. He's sitting there, and it always hit the same spot. Yep. Oh yeah, Paul. If you're having to swing with your entire arm, unless you're well, like you're spalling, but even when you're spalling rock, just get a bigger percussor, get a bigger hammerstone. That's really all you need to do is just get more mass. It's not about how hard you hit it, it's where you hit it and with what amount of mass that you hit it with. So, and that's another spot that a lot of new nappers get hung up, is they think they have to hit it real hard because they're breaking a rock. But it's really not about knocking the heck out of it, it's just about hitting it in the right spot. All right, now we've got another spot here where I can take out. Now you can see how those flakes, no, a stilt nerd. I don't. What did I say? Did I say something that helped you? I'm glad if I did. But Paul, yeah, that's the slow energy spalling. It's about the mass of the percussor, and that's one of the things that you see. Well, you mentioned him earlier. Parker, when they're not, when they've got those big hammerstones that are, bigger than my coffee cup, big, like cantaloupe size hammerstone. Oh yeah, the accuracy that's, it's like I said, it's just like a golf swing. The fewer moving parts that you have, the less likely you are to get, out of whack with it. Yeah. Paul, I've seen them using some of those big hammerstones, and that's the thing. It doesn't take, they're not swinging those fast. They're just dropping that mass on a platform. And see, the thing about it is what people don't understand, everything in flint knapping is exactly the same. It's just the size of the percussor or the force. It's like I tell people, this is not too big a jump from this tool to this tool. I'm just applying more, like force with this. But if I were to hit it with this, it's the same mechanics that work with those other things. It's just a different size piece and different mass. And I will tell you guys that when you're pressure flaking, yeah, rhyolite to spal with. I've worked some of the rhyolite too. But when you're working with the material, if you just downsize your percussor, you guys have seen me use a lot of, I like smaller, when I'm doing finish work, I like these little disc shaped, or once they've broken down, you can see how smoothed off that is from grinding and whatever. But I prefer these little, here's another one. These little disc-shaped hammerstones for finish work, because what you're doing, once the mass of the piece drops, all I'm doing is just dropping this and just dragging it down the edge. And you guys can't really see the flakes coming off of it, but it takes these little edge turning, and it just makes for a really nice turned edge. All right, well, I've got a spot right here that's isolated. I'm going to try to take this little area of mass right behind here. So I'm going to push inward force, and just platform crushed on me. So we'll reset, regrind, and there's enough of it left. I think I can still get a hold of it. So, Noah, thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. There it is. You can see how that, see if I can get it back to, see right there where it goes to turn, guys, that's why I support that underneath there, is because where that energy is trying to turn that corner. Hey, William, morning. No worries. No, that's why that's why I do this, is to try to share and help people. See, that flake went all the way from this margin here to this thumbnail. And you can see what it's done for our profile. We've got a nice thin cross section. Let's see here. Yeah, Roland, it's falling if you're trying to work some, especially, well, like some of that real hard Texas stuff. That's rough on tools, but the hammerstones will actually work really well for that. It's kind of like what Paul and I were talking about, that kind of a slow energy, like a heavy thump, and you'll see that, I've got a big piece of the black butter obsidian, and when I say big, it's probably a 30-pound chunk of it. It's the biggest piece of material that I've got, and I don't even know if I've got a hammerstone big enough to spall it down with, but we may have to do that on one of the lives. No, but anytime if you're making these, like a Dalton especially, you're using the contours of the piece, and there's a lot of pressure flaking in it. You're just working back and forth and trying to get that lens shape and that final setup for the final flaking pass. And that's where you get a lot of the pattern comes from, is because the piece is so uniform and the convexity is even, everything is just the same. So yeah, that's Paul, I carry the hammerstone with me. That's, of course that's all I use, but that's what I've got one in here somewhere that I call that's my spaller that I carry with me. And I put it somewhere else, I guess. But I've got a kind of an old hammerstone. I guess I was looking right at it. It's got a little groove pecked around it. That's what I carry when I go rock hunting. That's my rock tester that I take to the creek with me. It's some kind of a quartzite, hammerstone-y. Just hate to break him, creek. Oh yeah, well, I used to though, Paul. When I'd go to a creek or a place that I'm looking, usually there's hammerstones right there in the creek bed. I used to do that. You're not always going to find the best, but sometimes you find. Well, I'm as guilty as picking up tools, hammerstones, when I'm out rock collecting as I am picking up rock. I've always got my eyes open for a new hammerstone, because as you guys have watched me do this, they go away, they wear out. That one that I was using earlier, this one, you guys were in here, and this thing, it broke. It was, when I started off, it was a big piece. It's the same kind of rock as this little disc that I've had, and this thing used to be bigger. This little hammerstone right here was the size of a bigger than a baseball when I started using it. When you find the ones with the right texture, you just know that it's going to be a good tool. And yeah, that's the thing though. You know, you get into some of that big material. I don't ever see stuff like that. You know, every once in a while I'll find a 10, 12 pound rock in the creek that I might be able to work. It's, you know, workable material, but usually that's the lower grade stuff. I don't find any of the reed springs that I work in pieces that big, not in the creeks. And even in formation, or where it's coming out of the formation, typically it's broken because of you know, the bending forces. You know, a lot of people call it like freeze cracked, or there's some other terms for them. I don't believe it's weathering or freeze cracking at all. It's what I've told people. If you imagine that layer of glassy rock in the crust of the ground, it's almost like a piece of plate glass. If you put a piece of plate glass between two pieces of plywood and then step in the middle of it, it doesn't blow up. It just goes and it shatters out in those little chunks. And that's what I think, what most people refer to as freeze fracturing, came from tectonic forces that bent the earth and consequently bent those formations of rock and shattered them. And then as it erodes out of the wall or the formation, then you end up with more, you know, of the chunky type stuff like that. Yeah, now that's a technique, Paul, that I'd really, you know, the way that I do my where's it at? When I'm doing that fluting, essentially what I'm doing with that is like a bipolar technique, because you're putting a stop at the end where that's at, and then you're striking this in. It's just a horizontal one instead of a upward. When you give that rock a place, you know, or that force a place to shoot to, that's when you get those splits. And that's the reason that I started trying to do the fluting like this, with that backstop, to be able to give that energy a place to run to. Oh my goodness. That's why I don't do Daltons though very often. There is so much pressure flaking that it can be rough on the hands, or on mine anyway. Arthritis will start getting all mad at me here in a little bit, but it's really the only way you can make these and make them look right is just several series of pressure flakes. Just one after another, and just keep turning that convexity, getting everything smooth and lined up. And the hard part about like a Dalton or that type of stuff is you have to, you know, tell yourself that it's going to be thinner than what you're making it. Your final pass. I don't like that. Yeah, Paul, it does. It puts a lot of you know, both of my hands from, you know, this, but that's why usually I try to do as much of the indirect as I can. But on this particular point style, it gives a different look and a different signature, and it just doesn't work right. It doesn't look right. So it's just several series of pressure flakes. Kenosha, how you doing this morning? Yep, time for a nap. I may need one after this. This Horse Creek is for those of you that have ever worked it. It's not a glassy material. It takes a little oomph to get them to. It is. I like the sound of a good clean flake coming off. Kenosha. Don't like to hear that crumbly noise. So that flake went all the way across the tip of that. See, I'm starting to get the convexity now in these pieces. They're running all the way across, and you'll see the profile that's creating on that side. You see how angled, and it is tough, Justin. It's not a glassy rock, you know. I mean, it's beautiful and it looks like it should be, but it is not. And that's why a lot of times, you know, this one is getting close to it starts to dry out. Yeah, I've seen something similar to that too, Paul. That's why I say, you know, anytime somebody says, how do you think they did it? Man, there was as many ways to flake and do all this stuff as there were people to think about doing it. You know, I mean, we're humans, we innovate and we make things work for us. You know, if it doesn't work that way, well, this punch setup is a great example. You know, when I first started using one of these under my leg and all that, I couldn't do it. I did not see the value of this technique. Oh yeah, I've had a few pieces of that, Paul. Terry sent me some really good quality. Now this is more of that bricky texture. It's got a little bit more of a coarseness to it, but it's consistent, and you can see this is going to make a killer Dalton. So now we've got this area right here. After the removal we had a while ago, then I've got the rest of this line up this way that needs to be removed. Yeah, Justin just got some, he said it, and I saw some pictures. He said it's pretty slick. Okay, now you can see how after I pulled those flakes, they're all off this side. Now I can tell you that this stuff is starting to dry out just from the texture of it. But I'm going to keep working it. We're thin enough now where it's not as chalky. When it's bigger and you're trying to drive flakes, it gets really, really temperamental. But we'll at least get it to like the final pass thickness and all that today before we work on something else. Oh, that'd be awesome, Paul. Yeah, good, you know, congratulations on that, because anytime you get access to good material, that is where it's at. Like I said, I'm just kind of spoiled around here. You know, I can take off and be on rock pretty quick. Yeah, well, that's a 6 mile hike. You're going to pay for it then. Because that's 6 miles in and 6 miles out with all that rock. So I'd invest in a good backpack and some kind of a shoulder carry thing for your buckets or something. Because I've got a few creeks that I hunt, and there's only access in certain places, and I've got the longest walk to one of my good rock spots is about 1.5 miles down the creek, and it's one of those where you high grade. You know, I don't take a lot of crappy rock out of there. Everything I take out of there is you know, the higher grade stuff. And then I actually usually plan into the day. Well, you know, Brizzo, I had thought about, have you ever seen those little battery operated they're like it's like a carrier, you know, but they're all-terrain carriers that run off batteries. I thought, man, what a great way for, you know, if you, yeah, that's what I do, Paul, is I'll sit down there on the creek once I find a pile of it, and I'll do what I call, you know, quarry blanks out of it. I'll sit there and reduce it down to a stage where I can carry more and get more rock out. I don't like carrying debitage home, you know. I hate to think that I'd walked that far and carried a bunch of, you know, waste flakes out with me. All right, now I want a little bit sharper. So we're not pushing in. This is an old bone that I found in the creek. Like I said, I'm always looking for tools while I'm out. This is probably an old cow bone of some kind. Now that was that pass. You can see how we've got that kind of a hollow ground, but it's building convexity. You can see how the pattern, you know, it's starting to get nice and smooth. Got just a little bit more contouring to do on this side. But again, you know, like I said, guys, it's the same thing, back and forth. When you're trying to make one of these styles of points, I'm just adjusting an edge from one side to the other and building convexity and trying to get all the contours even, and that's how you're going to end up with the best reproduction of. Hey Don, good morning. All right, now you can see that whole edge is turned towards this face, but we're not trying to drive flakes. Again, we're just going to use that bone again, but just driving a flake down and trying to continue that convexity, that lens shape. And with each pass, you're going to see more and more of the final profile of the piece come out. A little bit of a hiccup there. Got it right there. Good. All right, now there was that pass. You can see the same thing. Those flakes are going into about right here, and they're just tapering in. and you get this kind of a hollow ground edge. And you go back, brush the edge down. See, at this point, we've already established our thickness. I'm not trying to make this piece any thinner at this point. When I go in for the final flake pattern, I should have flakes that are coming in and meeting in the middle. Now I've got that one set to go back this way. Now you'll see there's an area right here that's a little bit higher, and at that spot I don't want to try to drive flakes in at all. I'm just gonna go straight down and just blend that into that edge. See, that flake went all the way out to here. And now we're entering into that spot where I don't want to press flakes in, I just want to blend them. So just straight down. I don't know if I saw the bottle bottom point. Don, I was in there when you were working on the anchor, and it got called real quick. Hey Steve, how you doing this morning? All right, now you can see with each pass that we get, we're getting closer and closer to that center, trying to get it to where the flaking will show up. It's not wanting to show very easily. You can see some of it there. There, that's a little bit better. You can kind of see how it's starting to, there's like a little chalky area in the rock right there. That's not, but you can see that how that shape just continues to get refined. I'm going back in and just dragging those deltas down, pulling off some little small flakes. At this point, what I usually try to do is, right on, Steve, doing some carving. But when I get close to the to finishing the piece, or at this stage, I typically try to keep my edges ground and stronger. If you leave them too thin, what you end up with is places where a crack can start. And once you get the piece, we're getting pretty thin. Once it gets thin like that, you're gonna, well, that shows the flaking a little bit better there. But you increase the chance that you're going to break the piece by a crack starting in the edge. So anything that you can do to keep that from happening, then let's see here. Kind of set this little platform down here before I get too much thinner, because it's going to take a little bit of force right here. All right, now I've got that pushed more. You can kind of see how I've lowered that, and I've got a little area right here. It works the same way as when we're working the edges, guys. You're building that convexity, and then try to put your, like, well, we're going to have some work to do then to get 100,000, aren't we, Brizzo? We're going to have to get 33.3 of you just to go crazy with your fingers there. Yeah, I didn't know it put a limit on it. I was on you and Don's live last night. I was about to wear my finger out doing the like thing on there to kind of get you guys out there in the algorithm a little bit more. All right, we're going to set this up for this other side. I think actually I'm going to do my base thinning right here before I set up for the other side. No kidding, Don? No, I didn't know that. I guess they're trying to keep, you know, people from trying to benefit from somebody just tapping on the screen for that long. But Justin, are you still in here? This is one thing I was going to show you when you come up, because when I was looking at your Daltons, you've got the contours right. It's on your when you're coming in from the base, we're going to work on setting up this little, almost like a little fluting nipple. And that we're going to shoot that up into this area here, and that hafting area, and try to do that on both sides, and it'll give you a lot more. You'll just recognize the look of it is a lot more like the originals. Now some of them, you know, they just came in and shaped the base, but for the most part, you've got, trying to find a one that'll show up on camera real good, but the base will thin flake, because you can see how it's really similar to like a Clovis or something like that. Now I can hit that with the indirect, but once it gets this thin, the chances of when you hit it off the end, especially with antler, you're increasing the opportunity for it to break. So what I'm going to do here is just, I need to shape that a little bit more, and we'll go ahead and do the basal thinning. See right here, what I'm doing is I'm running like a guide flakes, something that's just isolating that platform just a little bit more. You can set yours 100 times a minute. Let's see. All right, we're gonna see if we can push a big thinning flake off here. Now when I do this, I try to it's almost like if any of you guys that have seen like the guillotine type fluting jigs where they apply all that force to the end of it and then pull out and release it. I'm trying to do something similar. I put this piece in my hand like this and I'm pushing down this way, putting that force and loading it up into that rock, and then release down like that. And that one didn't go as far as I wanted. It's still up into there, but come in right here, whoop, grind that a little bit. When you hear that platform chip a little bit, when you make contact, it's going to step on you if you don't go in and fix it. Right on, Don. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of changes. I mean, right now, you know, I'm not receiving any like new subscribers. All you guys that are subscribed to my channel, it's telling me that you're about to lose all your you know, the subscription perks or whatever. So it's until they get all that figured out, it's really kind of frustrating. But all right, let's get another flake right here. That was a better one. Now the area where this rock comes from, yeah, Don, I still haven't really messed around with the clapper thing very much, but it seems a little different, a little weird to me, but I don't know. I'm just not one of these techie, you know, once I get used to how something works, I'm pretty hard pressed to do something different most of the time. All right. Now we're going to set this side, come back and adjust our convexity more to this side. And what we're doing is, yeah, that's kind of where I'm looking at it, Paul, is just being able to, if something were to happen to this platform, that I'll be able to continue, you know, being in contact with a lot of you guys. And some of you I'm friends with on Facebook, and you know, have ways that you can message me there and stuff, and Instagram also. So, you know, I know that some of you I'll still be able to find, but yeah, I'm not looking forward to if they decide to do away with it, for sure. Oh, awesome. I didn't know that, Brizzo. I'll have to, I mean, you know, not that I mean, I guess people are not going to do it if it's more difficult, because most everybody's on this on their phone. They're not going to a laptop to access to do whatever, but you know, I know there's a lot of people that that really put a lot of time and stock into doing this, and they're making it their livelihood. Those are the people I'm concerned about. Is the ones that, that's, well, I think Arrow Sniper, he's not in here this morning. Yeah, it won't, I'm not getting, like all any gifts that I get during the lives and all that stuff. I'm not getting that. It's not being deposited like it was and all that stuff. So, but like I said, there's several folks that I know that, they've kind of made this their livelihood. And, I love doing this, and it's not what I do for a living. I make a little extra side change and some stuff off some sales and gifts and subscriptions, whatever, but it's not my living, so to speak. So those are the people I'm concerned about. They put their faith and stock into something and built up a following. There's people on here that have millions of followers. I think Arrow Sniper is one of the ones I was talking. He's got over a million followers to his channel. So that's a tremendous amount of work to build up, that kind of a following on here. So rock is starting to dry out, and my hands are starting to give out. A combination of the two here. Well, that spot just does not want to let loose there. Well, thank you, Mike. I appreciate it. Yeah, like I said, I'm surprised that, well, Brizzo said you can subscribe on a laptop, but yeah, with them kind of shutting down that side of it, it's, that's what when I first got on here, Mike, I didn't even know what all that stuff was about. And I had people start subscribing to me, and found out that, you do the perks and the gifts and the giveaways and the stuff like that as a thank you, to folks that are sending you subscription dues. So we started doing that. I'm getting ready to send this one out. Bubba got this one. East Mississippi Headhunters. This is a hornstone Dalton that I did on a live about a month ago. I'm going to send that out to him here this week. All right. Take a little bit off this other ear over here. I lost some of this. There's that profile I was looking for. force into this one. I need a little bit more leverage. All right. Get a couple more flakes in this base on this and then clean up the edges. Be pretty close to done. Yeah, no kidding, right, Don? They'll sell it to you and then say they can't use it. White boy, thank you for the follow. Yeah, this rock is definitely getting crusty. Oh yeah, Don, I didn't know. I wasn't aware of that. I don't know who all owns what for where, but right on, Justin. Have a good day, man. I'll be in touch with you this week. We'll figure out, get you the directions and everything, and we'll get all the specifics on that figured out before you make your trip up here. Hey, let me ask you this before you get out of here. Would it be okay if I give you a call here in a little bit, or are you going to be too busy if I holler at you here after I get off the live? What would be a good time to call? All right, I'll get a hold of you then. Like I said, I'll make sure we got everything figured out and all that. So, right on. All right, guys. Well, I'm gonna give my hands a rest on this one. I'm just about. We're getting ready to do the final pass on there. You can see how the profile of this piece and how nice I'm trying to get you can see the angle and the convexity. This is the That last pass through here is gonna clean these flakes up, same on this side. And then I'll just kind of reshape the base a little bit. But that's out of some just really pretty Horse Creek. Thank you, Brizzo, I appreciate it. You can see on these Daltons, the final piece, the thickest area is directly above that hafting area. That's where the thickest place on your point should be. And I've got a little bit of thickness up here that'll be removed when I do the next flaking pass, but you can see it's pretty thin, especially for this coarser material. So I'm gonna put it back in the bucket for this afternoon and into tomorrow, or I may finish it up off camera later, depending on how my hands are feeling. But let it rehydrate a little bit. Let me rehydrate a little bit. Get me some more coffee, and tell you what do we got left here? Got a few more minutes. Well, heck, we got almost a full cup left. Oh, goodness. Well, guys, I appreciate everybody that... Don, probably, well, what do you mean, what's your idea of big? My hometown, Rogers, Arkansas, is about, somewhere between 50 and 75,000. I think the sign says 49, but they said it's below where it's over 50,000. Rogers, Arkansas is just south of where I live. The biggest town other than that one around here would be like Springdale or Fayetteville, and you're talking about 100,000 in Springdale and maybe close to 200,000 in Fayetteville. Fayetteville's about an hour north or an hour south of me. Well, down there where Justin lives in Prairie Grove is kind of on the outskirts of Fayetteville. Why do you ask? You planning a visit to this area, Don? Right on. Well, like I said, if you get into this area, man, you look me up and let me know. We'll absolutely get together and do some chipping or just hang out a little bit or something. Oh yeah? Right on, Mad Dog. Yeah, that's just, I mean, I can be in Rogers. Rogers is about 10 or 12 minutes to my south. In fact, the way you probably go to Rogers, Mad Dog, do you go down 44 to Joplin and then go south? Or do you go down through Cassville, Monette, like that way, and go down 37 to 62? How do you... Right on, Don. I'm looking forward to it. Well, Paul, I'm hoping, it just depends on... Brizzo was asking me earlier about the Caddo River. Yeah, you go 44 through Joplin. Well, Joplin's about an hour from me, and that's to the west of where I'm from if you come down that way. Now, if you come down through Monette, Cassville, and go down 37 south and then hit 62, that would take you just within a mile of my house. But yeah, Paul, I'm hoping to make it to a few, but my old dog, she's, it's kind of a day-to-day deal. And and she just gets really upset. If I leave the house for an hour, that dog just loses her mind. Even when my wife's home, she's gotten so attached to me, and I just can't stand to put her through that. Because like I said, the last nap in that I went to, the dog spent 4 days laying on my dirty clothes that I wore the day before I left, and that's the only place that she would stay. And my wife said she was just beside herself the whole time. So like I said, I just can't do it to her. If I got to miss a few this year because of that, then that's what I'll do, because this is probably going to be my last year with her, I'm guessing. I don't know that for certain, but based off everything else, it's more than likely. I don't feel like she's going to make it through another winter anyway. So, make sacrifices for those. Well, awesome. Yeah, I've got some friends that Yeah, thank you, Paul. Some people think that's a little crazy, but that dog is. I've never had an animal like that. She's, well, it's like I tell folks. I know she would, even being sick and old and whatever else, she wouldn't hesitate to lay down her life to protect me. So, I kind of feel like I owe her a little bit back. Sorry, guys. But anyway, I'll be back on here in the morning at 8 o'clock. I don't know if my buddy Shane's coming over for Mojo or not tomorrow. So if he shows up, it'll be about an hour long live. And if he doesn't, then I'll be on for the full 2 hours. But then I'm going to be live again Wednesday night. We're gonna work on some stuff. I got one of my bows down here that I've been working on and off for a while, and I may do some work on it. I've got an idea. Those of you guys that are still in here, something that I'm trying to keep excited about doing the lives, and I don't want everybody to. There you go. Thank you, Brizzo, for that. Yeah, guys, if we just take care of each other, everything takes care of itself, So, but no, I'm going to do some. I've got a couple of atlatls in process right now, and some darts. I've got my. It's like a shepherd style sling or a sling that I've all primitive weapons, but I'd like to kind of do something similar to what Arrow Sniper's doing with trick shots, but pull off some close to unbelievable shots with primitive weapons. If you guys think that would be something that would be worth my time trying, I haven't shot in a long. I used to shoot all the time. Archery is one of my loves, but it's like I said, with my back, I hadn't done as much of it, and I think it would probably be good for me to get out and do some of it. And now that the weather is starting to change, I thought it'd be kind of cool to see some primitive versions. Right on, Roland. Well, I'm definitely wanting to try that. Like I said, awesome, Dave. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, I used to do. I shoot primitive or traditional, and then started making my own bows, and just haven't shot in a long time. But I used to do some stuff that. It really at times would impress me. When you pull off a shot that you just figured there's no way I can do that, and you do it. You kind of go, ooh. Instinctive shooting and hand-eye coordination are just paramount in primitive tools for sure. So, I'd like to show you guys some of that stuff. So if it looks like there's a few of you anyway that would watch it, I'll see what I can do about. Coming up with some videos for that kind of stuff. So, well, guys, we're at the end of our live this morning. Those of you that came in and shared a little time with me, I sure appreciate it. Thank you for the questions and the comments and the likes and the shares and the follows and all that stuff that goes along with it. Hope you have a great day. Take care of yourself. Take care of those around you. And come back in and have some coffee with me in the morning. Till then, just keep chipping.